Those who know me know that I prefer a hands-on approach. I always enjoyed theory and I was always very good at it, but nothing quite compares to putting one's knowledge and talent to constructive use. Of all my time at Aretuza, it was, above all others, Nina Fioravanti, the Mistress of Earth, who instilled in me this appreciation of the practical. Earth is a reasonably tricky element to learn, and I always respected those who mastered it, of which there were, and still are, very few. Its difficulty stems from its inefficiency, as the power harboured within, much like the structure of Earth itself, is stagnant. It does not actively flow like water, air, and fire, and so cannot easily move from one place to another, even with a magical hand guiding it. In short, it takes an incredible amount of energy to draw from, and is therefore impractical, especially for unseasoned adepts. After a year of nothing but water, and some classes in air, we were deemed ready to tackle the basics of Earth. I had prepared myself for a few months of introductory theory, and as was customary, but was pleasantly surprised when Nina, for our very first class no less, took us to a nearby archaeological site to assist with the dig. These outings continued for the better part of a month, and the most peculiar thing was, we didn't use any magic. Day in and day out, we dug trenches, sifted through dirt, and categorized any objects we found. Mostly, we uprooted tiny bones of local wildlife and on occasional coin or worthless trinket. Years later, I found out that we had discovered nothing of note because the whole endeavour was a sham. On the surface, at least. Nina had used the same site, which held exactly no historical significance, with every class she had taught since Aretuza first opened its illustrious doors for business. I was informed of this ruse by Nina herself years later when I was a fourth year during one of our private get-togethers. Nina had apparently been fond of me since that very first dig, as without hesitation or question, I had jumped right to the task at hand. Unlike the other girls, I didn't complain once about the situation, even after I had ruined almost all of my garments with scuffs and stains, and she remembered that. That's why, years later, she had recruited me for a special assignment that she described as extracurricular and made me promise to keep it a secret from the other girls. I think I told Kalina almost immediately. Sorry, Nina. Of course, I, the would-be prodigy, pounced at the opportunity to earn extra credit. I was such a sycophant back then. It turned out that Nina's responsibilities extended far beyond the elements of dirt and debris. For years, she had been in charge of solving a particular problem that emanated from Torlana. At the top of the tower resides an infamous and notoriously unstable portal, which no one ever used, as doing so almost always, so the stories go, resulted in death. In fact, the whole tower was entirely off limits to all students. Apparently, the portal emanated a strong magical field that interfered with nearby magic, and even the simplest of spells cast near the grounds would be warped into something erratic and dangerous. And so, Nina had been slowly imbuing the foundations of Torlana and the nearby palace of Garstang with a unique aura that, once fully implemented, would suppress all magic in its vicinity. After all, spells cannot be warped if they cannot be cast. Indeed, it was an incredible feat of magical engineering, especially for the time. My job was to help with the general research, to provide assistance with the imbuing process, and to gather any items that the mistress required. The word lackey could be used, but I didn't mind. Even though the work itself was far from thrilling, the secrecy and importance of the venture excited me and made me feel rather special. Besides, I craved validation, and this was a sure way to gain Nina's favour. It was during one of the late evenings at Garstang Palace when I learned about Nina's scheme with the first years and the fruitless archaeological digs. She had chuckled quite heartily, expressing how it entertained her and saddened her in equal measure to know that the adepts, no matter how hard they try, would never find anything of significance during those fake expeditions. When I questioned her on it, she pointed out the true nature of the lessons, and her answer is a sentiment that has stayed with me. Given enough time and patience, anyone can move a mountain, one scoop at a time. Okay. It was a truth well known to anyone pursuing mastery of the earth element, and an attitude Nina wanted to instill into her students from the beginning. It turned out those outings, just lost as I moved, weren't about discovering some great treasure or long-lost secret. On the contrary, such a find would have been detrimental to the lesson she was trying to teach. Instead, Nina wanted the adepts to embrace the concept of patience, hard work, and determination, even when there was little to show for one's efforts. A mage can spend 100 years honing her chosen element and still be 100 years from mastering it. If one becomes entitled to instant gratification, then greatness, I fear, will forever elude them. I sometimes recall these words and ponder on how I would respond to them today, all of these years later. Perhaps, dear Nina, there is more to life than greatness. She'd probably scoff at that, or laugh.